Hello and welcome to session 4 of Automation and Integration, hosted by Significans Automation. This is number 4 in our series. Welcome to today's session. As always, we call these seminars, so jump straight in the chat. Let us know where you are viewing from today, and of course share your name as well. We want to hear who is with us. Also got Andrew Gunn here today from Fujifilm. Who else have we got with us? Don't be shy, jump in the chat. Let us know where you are viewing from today. What country are you from? What city are you near? Let's find out. So thank you everybody for joining us for session 4 as I mentioned. We're calling today a seminar. That is purely because we want it to be an interaction between you and our guests. It's really important that we have a discussion and we make sure that we take tangible information from the content. So throughout the session, if you have any questions, please jump in, ask. One of us will try to get back to you as quick as we can. Should we not get back to you, we'll endeavour to come back to you post the seminar and we'll make contact with you. But again, any questions, let us know, raise your hand and we'll make sure we'll try and get an answer to you. So I'm very pleased to welcome Andrew Gunn here today from Fujifilm. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. Marc, Raad, President of Significans Automation. I'm just going to do a little intro first of all from a high level. Andrew, tell us a little bit about what you do for Fuji, and don't give too much away because we're gonna come to you in a bit more detail later on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. Thanks for having me, Marc. It's really quite exciting to be here. It's always fun when I get to be around Marc, right? Quite exciting to be here. So, name is Andrew Gunn. I'm the head of product marketing. I also serve as the head of our technical solutions team. I've got the sales channel now, so I've got a little bit of everything going on. But
well, I think we got a bit of a technical issue there with Andrew. I think what I'll do is I'll just come to Marc. Marc, let's we just.
Did I break up there?
Andrew, go ahead.
Okay, so I've got some connectivity issues here, but yeah, Andrew Gunn, head of product marketing here at Fujifilm.
Thank you, Andrew. Coming on to our distinguished host and automation wizard, Marc Raad.
Boy, it is really nice to be here, and I want to thank you guys for joining me, but more importantly, I want to thank the audience for coming on and enduring Andrew and I for the next hour. And I have had a relationship for the last 25 years, so there will be some levity here today. We'll try and keep it PG, that's for sure. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about some really important topics, which has to do with automation, integration, and we'll touch on some AI as well. So as an integrator, all those topics are near and dear to our heart, and we're happy to be here.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I will be your moderator for today. My name is Chris, and I am a founder of a company called Digital Inc. And my job is to raise awareness and help drive revenue for businesses in the print industry. So let's come on to Andrew, who I think is just left us for a second. I think maybe we'll come back to Andrew, Marc, in a second. Yeah, let's just move on to Significans. Marc, let's go on to Significans first and give people a bit of a background into what you guys do and give a bit more detail while we find our other guest.
Absolutely. I love how these can go off script, eh? So Significans Automation has become the largest niche integrator in North and South America. We're really proud of our accomplishments. We have over 350 years of experience amongst the team. Our team manages integration services and automation developments and communication services amongst multiple time zones. We've certainly become known for our e-commerce automation specialties. You can skip to the next couple of slides if you'd like, Chris. Excellent. We also have the ability to do a lot of scripting and coding for our customers as well. But at a high level, our services include business system integration, custom workflow and automation builds, as well as custom software builds. And if we move on to the next slide, our reach is throughout Canada, the US, and Europe at this point.
Thank you, Marc.
Thank you,
if you'd
Chris.
like to find out more about Significans and what they offer, some of their successes, some of the key ROIs that they've delivered for the customers, please scan the QR code here on the screen and you'll be able to download some of the latest resources and assets It's well worth the read. So let's look at the industry outlook right now. I'm just going to come to a slide here, which we were discussing earlier on today. And again, hopefully Andrew can join us in a minute, but the graphic on the screen shows the industry outlook as we're seeing it today, as in 2026. How do you review these numbers?
Yeah, this to us is a very important infographic. It shows that our industry, which is the entire graphic arts industry, generates about $3 trillion on a yearly basis. And if we're speaking specifically to the global print industry, it's a third of that. And then there are over 600,000 placements. And when we look at what is really important, though, are the last two metrics on this slide. Mechanical, and it's very manual with its processes. Beautifully.
We hear you. Anyone in the chat here, Andrew?
Oh no, lost him again. Yes. And I believe a lot of our customers and a lot of prospective customers that are looking at where they stand today with their business and their services are considering a change and a transformation. Philosophy.
Let's just have a quick look here, see if we can help.
Yeah, sorry for this, beyond our control here today. ROI, but the audience online is possibly aware of this ROI. But what we're trying to say here is that an ROI can be generated with automation for sure, but to achieve the highest level of an ROI, it's achieved by integration and automation put together. And what we're trying to suggest here is that corporate North America is offering the abilities today with integration and automation to reduce these benefits here or enhance these benefits here. We can go around the circle. But really, at the end of the day, Fuji has an incredible portfolio and a pedigree of experience as well as significance to bring ROI to the customer base. And that's
fantastic.
What we see when we go out and visit our customers, we see many manual processes, many touch points through the business, multiple production tasks. We're trying to...
Fantastic. Okay, so future state then, Marc, what does that look like from your point of view?
Oh, yeah. This is really huge, right? The future state of any of our customers is to minimize the expenses on bringing customer files in. What does the ingestion look like? And how do we make it more of a resistance to being an expensive input and then creating the biggest conduit to output so that we can increase profitability on the output side. That's really an ask that we get very, very frequently. And the way to get there is by way of integration and automation.
So unfortunately, let's look at it from a point of view of Fujifilm's perspective. And I don't know if you can answer this, but are you aware of any of the challenges or changes that they may be hearing from print shops, from conversations you've had?
Move back to the other slide. Really, it's a common theme wherever we go. We always see very manual processes. It's the slide before this one.
Okay.
And we see manual processes very frequently with those who have suggested that, hey, this is the way it's been, this is the way it's always been, and now there's an opportunity for a future. And the future really is data exists in the business. Digitization exists in the business today. And having those capabilities allows for that transformation. From our perspective, all we need is data and logic, and then we kickstart the automation schema.
Fantastic. Andrew, welcome back. Are you good? Yeah, I think that connection is going to be a challenge for us, chaps. So Marc, I'm going to stay with you if you don't mind. From a software and automation perspective, what trends are you noticing with the customers on the ground when you go and see them in the print shop?
Our customers are anxious, thirsty to learn, and certainly ready to adopt. And that's been the common theme over the last couple of years. The theme has been quite apparent for a while, but I think now more of our customers are suggesting that it is really time to get that competitive edge in their business. And I think the year of automation, which was 2025, kickstarted, and the catalyst was all this verbiage around AI, and AI really opened up a lot of our customers' eyes to where things stand. Now, I'm not saying that some of our customers were behind the times. I'm just saying it just opened their eyes to adopt more automation and less of the, I guess, the hardware side. It really, at the end of the day, what Fuji and Significants philosophize together is the fact that there's an ability to bring an entire solution, which is encompassing of software, services, and then, of course, the hardware solution to create an opportunity for the business. So yes, there is that opportunity to improve upon in the businesses today.
Fantastic. Powell says, is there a plan to discuss or show an actual example of automation? If not in this session, maybe for a future one. So that's a good suggestion, Marc, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and Rob suggests a really good idea. And what we always say is we're challenged to show automation. It's a background process. It's something that we can sort of drop in a file, and then magically it shows up at the end of its at the end of its task in a very automated way. So yeah, we'll be delighted to show those in future. In fact, we are going to be coming out with some fall series that are more demonstrative.
Okay. And I mean, what's the mood amongst, when you're on the ground, Marc, and you go and visit these customers in the print shops, what's the mood amongst the print shops owners, kicking off 2026? Is it AI, or are they thinking more about waste and, profitability in those smaller run jobs?
I think they combine the two topics into one. They're realizing that AI and automation is part of their future, and it needs to be.
Okay.
And Andrew,
okay.
you might have an answer there. Go ahead.
Back in, Andrew Gunn. Welcome back. Let's kick off. Tell us a little bit about the automation.
So one of the things,
from a Fuji standpoint,
it's so easy at Fujifilm, and Marc is probably sick of hearing me talk about, all the pretty pictures we print and the embellishments and all that great stuff, right? But I always say, that stuff will get you in the door, but it's the automation that will keep you in the black, right? So when I look at the different disciplines of automation that we do, we've got on-press automation, we've got pre-press automation, which is really where Significans and Fujifilm plays together on the workflow side. We talk about these things in the Fujifilm world, whether it's wide format, inkjet, production toner. You've got too many small jobs to manage, right? It's like herding cats. So there's lots of disciplines that we can remove. And Chris, as we've spoken before, and I'll put this trivia out to you guys, for every $1 spent on print, how much money goes into non-print related disciplines for that one job? Do either of you want to take a crack at that one?
Well, I know the answer, so I think you should share that, Andrew.
So for every $1 spent on print, there's $3 spent on non-print related activity for that job. That's where the profit lies. That's where the ROI lies, right? So you need to figure out, how to get these two dirty little things called human intervention off the job, right? So that's obviously a really big one, and that's where, and again, it's getting better. It's getting better. But with when we talk about with lots of human intervention, we've got up to 53% of print service providers rely on manual processes. In the year 2026, this is far, far too much, right? And this is a number actually that kind of eats at the soul a little bit, and it says, up to 11% of jobs end up as waste, right? So, I mean, think about that for a second, Chris. If you gave me $1 and I gave you 89 cents back, how would you feel about that? Probably not so great, right? So, we need to take a look at that, because again, that's strictly, if I'm a person that manufactures a printed widget for a living, that's a problem, right? That's going to be a big problem. So in there is where the goodness lies in that little factoid. So that stat does kind of get me into my emotions a little bit, but I know that whether it's pre-press or working partnering with Significans or on-press automation, we can help allow for our stakeholders to get some of that back. So sorry for the long diatribe there, Chris.
No, Andrew, I'm moving about a bit here because we had a question on that, which I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned a few seconds ago that every $1 spent on print, there's $3 in non-print related costs affecting that job. Can you walk us through what makes up that $3, the actual cost?
In there. If you go back.
Next one?
No.
That one?
There you go. So in here, it might be a little bit difficult for you to see, but if you look at this in here, you'll see a bunch of different things going on. You'll see sorry, I'm just going to make it bigger on my screen so I can see it. So, you've got all these manual things that are coming through. So like importing a job, pre-flighting. We want to be able to just import, print, and ship, right? So for things like pre-flighting, inserting pages, rotating pages, tabs, splitting pages, combining files, grouping orders, right? If I want to add a barcode, what about numbering? What about inserting banner sheets? What about connecting? What about any type of finishing? All of those different things. I just rifled off about half a dozen different tasks that would go into that. But those are some things that would take up that $3. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. And is there any questions in the chat on this? Please jump in.
No, Andrew, we profess the exact same, and hence the reason why we showed an ROI model a couple of minutes ago is to remove all these mundane tasks and put them to a background process.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just with what XMF Press Ready does. I mean, not to mention the fact that, XMF is Press Ready specifically is a tool that's agnostic. So whether it's Fujifilm technology or any of the other OEMs out there, as long as you've got a RIP in front of it, you can send jobs down to it. So it's an open architecture automation system that it's kind of one workflow to drive multiple presses. So, yeah.
Andrew, I'm just going to go back a step because you had another slide that you were going to talk us about the disruption of workflow and the complexities of it. It would be good just to have a little insight into this, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, certainly. So we talked about disrupting workflow complexities, right? Which kind of sounds like almost like an oxymoron, right? But if we want to say, so for things like if you break it down by time, labor, waste, and capacity. So for time, you can say goodbye to these struggles, right? So too much time prepping jobs for production inconsistencies, that whole whack-a-mole playing back and forth with the job. And now you can watch your performance get better by automatically prepping and processing jobs for any press, eliminating the bottlenecks to turn jobs around faster. And again, with that agnostic workflow, you can do that. And then obviously with labor is a really big thing, right? So you've got a really big need for highly skilled labor, lots of manual processes and touch points, right? And that skilled labor is kind of not getting less skilled. That's not fair to say. But you don't have people coming out of press operator school anymore. That's not an actual thing, right? So you can automatically prep the files, manage jobs, and eliminate those manual touch points. Again, eating away at some of that $3 in cost. And then waste is a big thing. So labor is expensive, but so is paper. Media is very, very expensive, right? So fixing bad files, manually adjusting and readjusting. So now you can automatically pre-flight, correct, and optimize those files where you're proactively ensuring color accuracy the first time around, and not going back in, throwing all the stuff that you've wasted over an hour on, wasted paper, wasted labor. You know that you're going to get accurate color, whatever you're sending those jobs down to the first time. And then obviously capacity is a major, major discipline that goes into that $3 in sunk cost. So suboptimal production output, inefficient scheduling, and job batching. So now you can automatically route and batch jobs across technologies, unlocking the better press productivity, whether it's certain time of day that you're going to want a repeatable job to, whether it's a press that's got better uptime. We can allow you that view, that access to which press is going to give you the most ability to get it out at any given time during the press day.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. I asked Marc this question earlier on when you were rejoining us. But from a Fuji perspective, what are the biggest challenges or changes or demands you're seeing on the print shop floor right now?
Yeah, so nuanced question with a bit of a nuanced answer, isn't it?
We'd moved on from looking at the two businesses, and we were starting to look at what we're seeing in 2026 right now. When you're speaking to Fuji's customers on the factory floor, what are they saying to you? What are their biggest challenges? What are their big
sessions? I'm going to tell it through the customer-centric lens, right? And those four disciplines: time, labor, waste, and capacity. How is these again lens?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Andrew. It's always adoption and adaptation in the environment that our solutions go into.
Yeah,
Marc, are you seeing those four challenges as well? I know I've already asked you this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When we go through a very detailed assessment and we're aligning with the customer on what their objectives are, it's always capacity and waste reduction, error reduction, labor, time. These are very, very universal attributes that we see amongst all the businesses, whether they're in print or pack. And I know Fuji sees this on their daily runs as well.
Okay, brilliant. I'm going to move on in chat. So I'm going to go back to our question segment. Now we've got Andrew back in, which is fantastic. Okay, so thank you for that, bringing us up to speed there, Andrew, and getting a bit of an idea. The last question we were on before you came back in was, what's the mood amongst the print shop owners heading into this year? What was the vibe? What were you thinking? And you mentioned you were seeing things from their perspective, but were you picking up on anything else that we need to do as an industry in 2026?
Yeah, again, I don't want to speak for all, but I think they're looking for new revenue streams. They're looking, there's this generational handoff of the operations, right? Whether I'm franchise print, whether I'm a general commercial printer, whether I'm in packaging, marketing services provider, put whatever name you want on it. There's this generational move out of what's the revenue stream that I can get, the next generation to come in and take a look at. And if there's not, there seems to be this overarching sentiment of, well, I'm just going to write out what I do and we'll kind of see where it goes. So I think there is one of optimism, but when we're at events and shows and stuff like this, you do sort of see, a couple of generations that they're going to be coming in, they're going to be asking questions. And I find that there's like a digital curiosity, Chris, wanting to learn about this. And one of the first things that people will say to me is, tell me about AI. Tell me about how you're using artificial intelligence, right? And I think that artificial intelligence is one of these things that it gets this buzzword salad, this buzzword hangman, if you will, of, oh yeah, we do, and I've literally heard people say we do automation and stuff, and we do AI, and maybe not AI and stuff, but I've heard people say we do automation and stuff. So AI is so important because AI creates this whole, you're automating the automation. Yes, I got that right.
Okay, so on that point then, Andrew, if you don't mind me interjecting there, and this is a question to both of you, how are we actually using AI in the print industry right now and using it properly? I'm not talking about making generative images that, are just making slop, but gentlemen, how are we using it in industry right now?
I'll talk because, I've never met a microphone I don't like, Marc, especially when it works, by the way. So I will say, yeah, you're right. Like, we're not doing generative AI on our workflows. I mean, that's maybe the next function, but I know that the way with Fujifilm, we're using certain AI capabilities on our medical imaging side of the business, where we can look for medical anomalies in a scan, in a CAT scan, in a bone scan. Like that's what we're using that AI to kind of closer diagnose what it is that maybe like the urologist is looking at on a scan. Now we're using that same technology in our digital front ends. Now, instead of, I'm going to be corny here, instead of improving your health, we're improving the health of your print, right? So with things, like, let me, for example, where we can automatically go in on our digital front ends and we can use agentic AI to fix red eye. We can use it for any type of low res. We can up res an image, vector-based graphics that we can go in and fix using agentic AI. So we're kind of releasing the hounds on it, going out and looking for imperfections in a print so that you don't have to go back to the design side, Chris, to fix those things. And even things like line work and text, where you're going in and using agentic AI to fix, like I said, whether it's vector-based graphic, images, you name it, we can fix it. And that's been a big kind of step function improvement with the Fujifilm technology and leveraging other sides of the business to actually use it in the print side. So it's the first time really in I've seen on a print side where we're actually using it in practical terms, and it's only going to make the operator better, and it's going to keep that pre-press person free to do other stuff, because you're doing it on the fly at a rip level, if you will. So, that's my rant on how we're using AI today. Marc, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna step back here, though. I love that, Andrew. I really do. Agentic has been a term that we've only heard about in the last, let's call it 12 months, essentially. Prior to that, we were calling it aggregate AI because we were setting conditions into workflow automation. Sure. And we've been doing that since our inception in 2018.
Like if this, then that type of workflow.
Yeah, that's it, right? And creating that ability to machine learn or workflow learn itself to create repeatable tasks. Predictive AI, exactly. And really, that's the type of AI that we're speaking about and that we're aligned on, as opposed to the generative, where you just got to set in some prompts, and then the prompts will create a list of data or create create a piece for you type of thing, and hence the chat GTPs of the world. If we define that, and as we've done today, then what we're talking about is definitely agentic AI in our solution base for the customers. Can we combine the two? Absolutely. Do we combine the two? Yes, sometimes we do, depending on the circumstance. And they have to be explored. And I think your team, your solutions team, Andrew, does the same. They can combine the generative with the agentic, but it depends on the circumstance. And hence the reason why your portfolio is so broad and deep with your customer base, that you're not going to put a solution that fits all. You're going to put a solution that fits the application, the aptitude, the skill sets, and everything else into the environment. And that's what we endeavor to do as well.
I think if we're thinking along the lines of, if people always like, well, I'm using Chat GPT or whatever tool, I'm using that to get my answers instead of going to Google now. And I'm like, I go, you can do that. You can do whatever you want, right? But a lot of people fail to realize is Google, you're asking Google to give you an answer. Whereas with AI, if you're truly using it, you're telling it what to do, right? And I think that that's part of the whole thing. Like, you can, build me a business plan, build me, a picture of Marc and his kids, and it's going to do it. Like you say, it's going to aggregate that story. What I'd really like to see is where you can go into, you can type in something onto a DFE, our Fujifilm or Flow digital front end. And I can say, do this, and make sure that there's no shadow missing. So you're giving it prompts. It's where the print and the design, the pre-press kind of all merge into one. And I think that's really kind of where what we do needs to go, at least on my end, because at the end of the day, I still want to do, sellable print, right? So I think that there's a lot that we can do if we're telling AI what to do versus just going in and asking for answers.
Still a lot to build, though.
Still a lot to build, but that's really where it needs to go. So if you look at what you can do with AI today, with any tool, you can do a whole lot, right? You just have to say, give me a no nonsense answer to, a really good soup recipe. I don't know, bad example, and it's going to give you exactly what you're looking for. And I think that's the way that AI needs to behave in an automation and a print environment, especially as we're moving forward with the next generation of leaders in this space.
Okay, so Rob says another big industry shift is to discuss a lot of the loss and inability to replace traditional labour roles, such as pre-press technicians, up-prep designers, and simple account managers. Younger generations are not seeking these roles. AI and automation need to be leveraged to change this. Gentlemen, I mean, that's quite a good point Rob makes there. And you just mentioned their leadership, Andrew. What do we need to see from the industry at the trade shows now and at the summits to really leverage AI and help with automation, but also fill these gaps that are being left by the future generations?
We need to see more. So this is a gentleman's name, Andy Plata. Andy Plata. He's an educator in the graphic arts space. Yep. I think down, I want to say University of Houston, if I'm not mistaken. We need to see more programs like this that are not just surviving, but thriving, right? I saw one of the things that I did like to see was it was one of the design programs, might have been at RIT, one of the schools where they closed down their design program for print. And I might not be using the right school. We don't want to see that. We need to see progressive education, not just by the educational system, but we need to see it from the institutions like the OEMs, like Fujifilm, like Canon, Konica Minolta, Ricoh. We need to see, we need to be teaching that next generation. So kind of showing up and showing out of all the things that they can do. And that print can be sexy, but you've got to make it easy, and you've got to get hands off, and you've got to show how you can integrate artificial intelligence into doing it. Because if you're not going to do that, they're going to find something else to do, right? And it's clear to see that if we're not integrating that story in a practical manner, in a tangible manner, not just buzzwords, that we're going to fall flat. So I think those are the things that we need to continue to move forward. Actually, I've got a call later on today with Andy Plata from the University of Houston about automation and digital print embellishments for 19, 20, 21-year-olds. I'm doing my part, Chris. I can tell you that.
Good man. Good man. Marc, you spoke at Print United about this. You were bringing some tangible topics to the table, cutting through the fluff. What's your thoughts on this, as an integrator?
Yeah, we definitely have to make this a lot more invigorating, especially for the youth out there. They're starving to automate as much as they can around them. They do that with their cell phones, their computers. If they own a car, they do that with their cars. They automate as much as possible. That's their future, and they're being taught that they can automate things. So but when they go into a printing company, and one big one comes to mind where the general manager was telling me a few years ago, he has had a job posting for a year and didn't get
What was the role?
Applying for the job, pre-press and production, and it was just astounding. You didn't get anybody there, and I was like, okay, yeah, but look around you, everything's mechanical. Everything has a hand in it. Why would somebody who doesn't want to get his hands dirty, a young person, want to start putting his hand inside of a press or typing stuff and customer service? And yeah, it just seemed too manual. So I highlighted that in my exit. Now, needless to say, I may have offended somebody, but today we're not offending people when we try and tell them, get innovated, get modern, become an entity that you can be proud of, and invite people to be part of your organization because it is modern.
You got to be the agent of change, right? And somebody who's not afraid to embrace that.
Well
right?
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
Rob
well
says,
said.
not surprising. How do we make it sexy again? Great question, Rob. I think that's down to all of us individually. Jordan asks a great question. How and when do you tie automation and integration to your MIS? And what information and stage of the process are you looking to integrate this biodirectionally? Oh, that's a juicy one, Marc. Do you fancy that one?
Yeah, that's mine.
You can take the MIS questions, Marc.
Yeah, well, we've had the experience of integrating with multiple different MIS systems out there, and some are challenging, some are very proprietary, and some are good to go. And it's not one size fits all. I really will argue every day that not one size fits all. And the reason for it is because the data and the language that's inside the MIS system is different. There are some MIS systems that are fantastic when it comes to bidirectional capabilities. Some of them, unfortunately, are very proprietary, and a unidirectional situation is the best we can offer. But at what stage does it happen? It happens as early as possible so that you can start catapulting more and more automation through the business. Because again, if we look at the MIS system as a central repository, what our solutions, and I say that jointly with Andrew, our solutions and our services is to create as much of the arteries out of that repository and as broad as possible and as fast as possible to all the other nodes on the network.
Okay, fantastic. Marc, don't go anywhere. I've got a question for you.
I'm not
You
going
mentioned
anywhere.
earlier on. I have to ask, I have to check, it's been one of those days, right? 600,000 plus workflow solutions installed globally. Why are so many shops still relying on mechanical and manual processes? Ooh, another
Sadly,
juicy
it's because
one.
they trust it. They've trusted that.
Okay.
It's here and it's been here, and that's the way it's going to always be. But as integration companies like us and our peers and solution providers like Fujifilm come to the market, what we're trying to do is say, please just trust it. We'll build it based upon your specifications. So we're building the trust into the schema. As you start to build the trust, the adoption becomes very, very natural at that point.
Fantastic.
Andrew, wouldn't you agree there that some of the services that you provide naturally over time, are adopting more automation because they're seeing the ROI?
Yeah, and I think you can kind of, be the hammer or be the nail, right? We're trying to be the hammer of that automation story, So obviously sitting at the right tables, having conversations with you, but so when we're putting out new offerings, Marc, we're just there is no choice. You're using the automated way to do it, right? And I think when you remove the heavy lifting out of it, and you say, this is how we fix front to back registration now. This is how we fix for color. Before, those were manual tasks where you go into the press and you play whack-a-mole trying to fix physically the issue. Whereas now, we're using different lenses and tools that we're actually automatically analyzing print, analyzing those things and fixing it on the fly before an issue pops up on the press. So I think that we're kind of forcing the change, at least from our perspective. And I think some customers are really embracing that. But even still, you'll go into a customer and say, like, I'm having a problem with this, or I'm having a problem with that. And did I show you, did you know that if you press this button here, it'll automatically fix poor color for you, thus saving you 500 sheets of wasted paper and a wasted hour of labor, which is what, I don't know where you guys are, but maybe $60 an hour, including benefits. So you're actually showing them that ROI right up front before the issue happens. So embracing it is going to be like a bit of a force change, I think, Marc, would be my position with that.
Yeah, but I agree. Sometimes it is a bit of change management that we have to adopt, but we're always trying to position the value behind the investment and the innovation. Yeah. And so the value proposition is ultimately the entire solution. What's it going to do? How much is it going to return? And I think a lot of the customer base that we're seeing today are saying, yes, I understand the ROI. Yes, I understand I need to innovate. Just give me some better clarity. And that's all we hear is just give me some clarity.
Well, what do you get?
This is why, and Chris knows.
With the automation that we're showing with the Fujifilm technology, especially on-press automation, the ROI is evident, like right from the second that you say, hey, you're going to press this button and this is going to be the end result. And customers are like, wow, this is great. But for you, how do you get around that? Because you're talking about workflow integration, you're talking about integration to MIS systems, quoting systems, all that fun stuff that all you smart people do, Marc. But how do you get around that, hey, this is your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 month payoff and your ROI? How do you solve for that challenge? Because it is kind of, it becomes monkey math a little bit, right? When you're doing that. So how do you get around that?
It's an excellent question. And unfortunately, the only thing I tell my customers that I sell them every day is trust and time. And our time that we take to build their automation schema is paramount at the end of the day. And the way we get started is by way of an automation assessment. Where do they stand currently? What do we draw up to be their future state? What is the ROI between every phase? And so the customer walks into this with a lot more clarity, but also the trust. Because again, we've had the experience in the marketplace to grow with a number of customers. We've had the privilege of doing business with over 250 customers throughout Canada, the US, and Europe now that, they check in with the small community. Printers check in with other printers. And so that's how it gets built.
But does this automation, is it linear, or is it just because we perceive it to be?
It's a perception. It's not linear. It's done to relieve the customer. Now, we do everything in Agile. So we might get a small little project that says, I just need proofing and pre-flighting. Okay, great. We'll build around that. But please know, I always say this, so I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, while the car is hoisted, let's look at the rest of the business and where else some automation may fall into place or enhance this small little Band-Aid solution to becoming a really fruitful opportunity for your business.
In that vein, and I always I like the hoist analogy, but I also try to avoid being all things to all people, because I know I can't be, right? So I know if I run into an MIS integration quandary, that I can always engage with you or partners like yourself. But what if you find stuff that's out of your scope of what you guys do day to day? How do you pull in, how would you pull in partners like Fujifilm to partner up and solve for, at the end of the day, trying to solve for how does this help the customer, right? So how do you
Absolutely.
So how do you view that if you realize that the muffler's shot, but you don't dabble in the muffler industry? Like, how do you get around that? How do you work? How do you partner? And how do you make those calls?
Well, we make those calls, absolutely. And we're very open and transparent with the customer to say this is beyond our core competency. We do that infrequently, of course, because again, the engagement from the beginning is let's look at what we can align on and where best we can service you. And if we need to bring in partners, we certainly do. That's easy for us. We'll bring in a partner and work with them and engage them at the right phase. And then we project manage that as if we're the master contractor.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but it all has to do with starting with a plan, Andrew. And this is where we profess to say most of our engagements, if they don't start with a plan, then they fail. It's like starting a business without a business plan.
Yeah.
Good points, gentlemen. So what's holding shops back from making the integration leap? And that's a question to both of you.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, you go first. I have an answer.
I think fear of the unknown. The one thing, I think the greatest question I think humankind has ever asked is why, right? The greatest objection humankind has ever had is, well, why not, right? So I think that typically they'll find reasons when I'm in front of a client or a stakeholder or partners. Well, this is why it's never going to work. This is why we're not going to do it, right? You for every reason you do want to do something, it's like you're almost hit with like 10 reasons why it's not going to be either easy or attainable. And that's what I see the most of. So I think to Marc's point is you need to kind of show them, the way home, right? With that. And I think you need to make it easy. You need to make it digestible. And then most importantly, you need to make whatever it is that you're doing there repeatable, right? So these are certain areas where we've had success in, whether it's food and beverage, automotive, retail, real estate, experiential, call whatever vertical, financial sector you name. You need to be able to show that you've got the capabilities to do the hoisting and then doing the integration piece. So I think, so for me, the big thing is getting past here's the reasons why we can't do something to the reasons why you can do it. And if it's not repeatable, if it's not digestible, then you're wasting each other's time. You're not going to get buy-in at that point.
Yeah.
Marc?
I'll bring it down to more of a mechanical answer, especially in our industry. When we see a piece of technology on a shop floor, that's a tangible, and most business owners can put an ROI to that. When we talk to them about software, they're being sold a vision. When they're being sold services like ours, it's an intangible, and it's only based upon trust, as I said earlier today. Mm-hmm. And so, you have to demonstrate that trust can be built and trust can be implemented, and that many peers have already adopted that trust and have created a huge ROI for their business.
Yeah. And if we're talking print, from my perspective, there is nothing more tangible than printed widget in which people sell for a living, right?
Correct.
So the tangible component to that is valid for sure.
But how many touch points did it take to create that printed widget? If the answer is 0 or 1, it's huge.
Exactly.
Chris,
so,
I
Andrew,
see some questions.
I've got some questions for you, Andrew, in a second. I'm just going to read out somebody's spent some time here putting some information in. He says, I think some of the print jobs advertised in the future will be ones that don't yet exist. It will be agentic AI creators. AI won't replace people. The masters of AI will replace people. Most people are still in discovery stage of AI, seeing what it could do, rewriting emails, CVs, creating images or short videos. The winners will be the companies that create industry-specific agentic AI, and an AI that does not do specific jobs within the production environment, not really an LLM, but a bot, for want for a better word, in the same way as digital print replaced offset LIFO skilled operators that didn't adapt. With a digital front end, almost anyone can use. AI could replace large sections of pre-press jobs, if I'm honest. Not a question, sorry.
No,
Smiley
who's that
face.
from? Who's that from?
That was from Trevor Cox. He says, word limit reached. He says sorry, but I actually think, Trevor, that is a very good contribution. And I think these are the kind of AI conversations we should be having.
Spot on.
I agree.
You've got that agentic built-in component where it's just going to work because it's knowing what to look for, right? But I'm also intrigued by any potential generative AI on the design side of print, right? So one of the things that we face all the time is with the digital embellishments is I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to design for it. Therefore, I'm not going to do it. Again, what's the problem? We're not making it easy and we're not making it repeatable, right? So I think once you're going to be able to see the design aspect of creating print-ready, silver, gold, fluorescent, whatever, embellished print-ready files, I think you're going to see those applications that aren't having huge explosive growth right now. You're going to see that blow up. So, for example, like Tactiful, which are a CMYK plus digital embellishment think tank. I think Kevin Abergel and his team, they're doing some crazy things on how to circumvent that whole design, quandary. Because as they say, the designers design, the printers print. So, how can you use AI to bridge that gap in that statement?
We were discussing that, Andrew, actually, funny enough, at FESPA Middle East in Dubai recently, where we believe that the front-end web-to-print storefronts will start to offer those kind of creative options. Then they will pre-flight as well, and then they'll then push it through into the workflow. But I'm going to move on, chaps, because I think we've still got a few questions to go, and we're going to rinse as much out of Andrew as we possibly can. Why we've got him. So, Andrew, back to you, sir. Fujifilm's presses. How does that workflow connect to Significans? What does that look like from an automation point of view? What's the handoff? And of course, Marc, if you want to interject as well, we welcome it.
Well, just give me the APIs, Marc, and I think we'll be good to go. What do you think?
Tit for tat, Andrew. They actually cohabitate, Chris. The solution cohabitate very well. We were talking about this recently, Andrew and I, that his XMX workflow works beautifully within the Fujifilm environments, but sometimes you need a middleware, and so we're always looking for that middleware, which will be that connector between data and logic throughout the business. So I think cohabitation, and I'm sure Andrew would agree there.
Yeah, and I do think that one of the things that I really like about since I've come out of Fujifilm is knowing where the bodies are buried, so to speak. Is that because we're the owners of the innovation, we own the workflow, we own our skin in the game. We can go to the right level of integration people, whether it's here in Chicago or it's in Tokyo. Marc knows that he's got line of access to those resources. I think that for me has been interesting too, and as well as with for example, on the digital front end side. If I had to troubleshoot an issue with Revoria Flow and the integration between Revoria Flow and what Marc's solutions do, we're talking to the right people like in the first conversation. And if not, I know exactly where to go. So I think access to, as owners of the innovation, access to those engineers and those code writers, even if you will, I think gives us a leg up, both for Fujifilm, but I think also for Significans.
Fantastic. Rob says new positions for print shops is the AI prompt generation manager. Rob, I have to agree. Something we covered recently for what is changing in 2026 is a more technical workforce in the print shop. People that understand more how software works and the importance of software, and of course AI. That's a great point, Rob. Gentlemen, I'm going to keep the questions going if you don't mind. There's a few more left. I think we've got some good speed now. We're a mid-sized commercial printer, still running a lot of manual processes and a manual pre-press. Where should we start with automation? That, Marc, I think, is one for you, sir.
With a plan and a coach, and that's where Significance would come in, or Andrew and his team would come in to give the right advice and give the right direction based upon experience. So always come up with I say this frequently to customers, you have to go through a bit of a self-revealing process, and that process is where are you lacking, where are the pain points, understand them, and create a plan around what comes next. And we love those mid-size, even small-size businesses because they're hungry to become the next big thing. So happy to help.
Andrew, you concur?
I do. I'm just trying to think. Repeat the question again.
So this particular individual he calls himself a mid-sized commercial printer, still running manual processes and pre-press, asking where he should start with automation.
So my question, I hate to answer your question with a question, but my question would be, where does your pre-press workflow sit today? Are you hybrid ready? So do you have a workflow that can drive both offset as well as digital? So for example, Fujifilm's XMF workflow is hybrid. You can go to a plate setter, you can go to a digital press, a wide format, whatever. I need to understand where you're sitting at today. That would be the number one thing, and the second one would be having a functional understanding of the workflow, how easy it is, how cost effective it is. Because remember, a lot of the workflow, even though it's the future of the business, it doesn't break the bank. It's not an unbearable capital cost like the press itself is, if that makes sense. So I think understanding what's out there, asking questions, being digitally curious. I'm sorry if I've used that a little too many times today. I think those will be the good way to start. But understanding that there's physical, there's digital automation, right? But then there's also physical automation at the actual press. And learning how those things can help you from day one, I think is, like I say, that'll keep you interested. And then learning all the hooks that Marc and his team can do to remove all those ugly touch points that touch that job is the next step. But I think the first one is just getting in touch with your solutions provider. Give me a call, give Marc a call, and we can give you a demonstration of how we can hopefully walk you through that and make the intangible a little more tangible, if you will. And we talked about making it the new normal. We don't want to talk about automation as this buzzword or AI as this buzzword. It's just the way that you work. And that's the way that you need to start thinking it. So go take your digital curiosity and turn it into table stakes of, get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your hair, and you start your day. That's what automation should be, part of your day.
Marc, how long does a typical automation integration take before you see measurable ROI? And that's quite a big question. even
it's such a dynamic answer there, because we have some projects that go for hours and other projects that go for months. It depends on what the ask is, but generally here's our MO. Our MO is that if the client has acquired or will be acquiring software, that we try and get them a return on investment, even with a minimal viable solution, in less than 30 days. And we have many customers that will attest to that they have received an ROI in less than 30 days from the ROI purchase because we've implemented and deployed it. But I do want to highlight one thing. That doesn't happen overnight. There's no one button fits all. It's a tailoring effect that we do with the customer base. So we implement, we refine workflows and schemas and integration methodologies. And all that takes a little bit of time to build. So it depends on the circumstance, but it is always customized.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic. I'm just going to ask you both, what shows and events do you recommend people should be attending this year to see these kind of products and services at? And I think also, if I may personally ask you to also tell us where we can see you both in 2026.
Everywhere. For us, we had global, we've got our whole Make More value proposition that we launched last year. We had our Make More event where we launched two or three new, exciting and really new products last spring. And we had one in Europe just a few weeks ago. We had the Executive Connection Summit last week where we were talking to channel partners about how, AI was the name of the game at this channel event, and it was a great event, the Executive Connection Summit in Scottsdale. We've got a couple new exciting launches that are coming due. And reach out to me, by the way, if anybody wants to learn more about those new product solutions that we're going to be coming out to the market with. Product reveal in the May-May timeframe. We've got an imaging event that we're doing with our photo imaging division, a collaborative effort between our digital printing and our photo imaging side, where we're having over, I want to say the IPI folks, there's going to be over 100 different Photoshops coming in. So looking at a great collaboration there. And then of course we've got paper specs design events that we do all year long. We've got franchise print events that we're doing all year long. Where again, automation is on the menu. And then of course we've got Printing United, which is going to be coming up in the fall. So we've got kind of almost like death by a thousand paper cuts. We're kind of everywhere at the industry events. I'm sure I'm missing a few here, but yeah. And of course we've got our graphics innovation hub here in beautiful Chicago, which is just it's every day it's teeming with new activity from potential customers or existing customers looking to make the move into being a little more digitally disruptive. Yeah, I probably took a little too much time there, Chris, but hope that answers your question.
No, fantastic. It's good to see you.
It just shows you're very invested in the sector, and I love it, Andrew.
Yeah.
You're reaching out to customers, you're being present for them. We try the same on our small efforts or big efforts in a small company. We try the same. We're at summits this year, and we're at Printing United as well. So yeah, we'll be at similar things. But I think the best thing is to encourage the customers that their questions mean a lot to us. So reach out anytime, whether you're using the 800 number, using an email, using LinkedIn. Even if you have something, I always tell the customers, use us as a library resource during your quest for research or the alleviation of the mysteries, because you're entering into a mysterious part of your business cycle, that is, and it's time to alleviate that. So use the expertise around you, whether that's at Fuji or Significans or any of our peers, to help you with that fact-finding mission.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. That brings us pretty much, we're over the hour now. I'm just going to read out a couple of messages here. So Trevor again shares some insight. Zooming out the map, your current status quo workflow is paramount. Then zoom back in and weigh up where the pain points, errors, admin time is spent. With margins on jobs so low, commercial print at least, every touch is slightly costing you money. It's like a bucket with holes. Water goes in the top, but you haven't noticed it leaking out the bottom. Printers focus on getting as much water in, but forget about the leaks. Many printers have never drawn maps to their full production workflow and wouldn't know where to start, especially the smaller ones. I've seen that. Significants do this as all part of their assessment stage. He says, sorry again, overtime, I know. No, absolutely brilliant. We want these seminars to be interactive and we want good takeaways from it. Thank you, Trevor. I think, gentlemen, we just, final point, we agree with that, right? It's a bucket and we need to plug the holes, right?
I like that was two good analogies used by Trevor today, and I think that you certainly have to be you need to be reflective and look inward. You need to hold that mirror up to your face and sort of say, well, what's going on that I don't know? And I think that's one of the challenges that somebody asked for that maybe we missed on is the ability to stand up in front of the mirror and say, where do I have to plug the holes in the bucket, so to speak. I like that.
Fantastic.
I do too, and I commend Trevor for highlighting that. More importantly, the theme today was creating the new normal, and both suppliers and customers are trying to create that new normal. And at the end of the day, this is a community that we're part of. Use the community, use your friends.
Yeah, and that's funny you mention that, because you find nowadays, like I remember back in the day, you'd go to, speaking of Chicago, you'd go to like Graph Expo in Chicago, or you'd go to a trade show or Droop or something like that. And it did feel kind of like a trade show. Like you come in, you kick the tires, you check under the hood, it's like that's how it felt. Whereas I find now industry events nowadays, they do feel more like user groups. And I noticed that like with Hunkler in Switzerland a couple of years ago when I was there. It was after the pandemic, and it does feel more like user groups. Like, hey, tell me what you're seeing. Show me what you're seeing. Kind of act it out for me. How can I learn from you? It does feel kind of less, not less competitive. That's not the right word, but it feels more like a collaborative space right now, where people can come in and have these. And I like the fact that Trevor, for example, was making insights versus questioning kind of thing. I like that. I think the space has become a safe space for curiosity and insights.
Fantastic. Thank you, chaps.
That's why he has a very special MIS program called Accurate MIS. So
there you go.
We're in good shape.
And you can
there.
find, and you can see a previous session available on the Significans YouTube channel where Trevor actually is one of the guests and talks about that actual program. So I would suggest going to see that. We can pop that in the comments below when we do the recap of today's episode. On screen now, we have the QR code again for Significans Automation. If you want to download the latest assets or resources, again, the gentleman has spoken about ROI today. That's a key point, and these guys know about delivering ROI. So scan that QR code. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. Thank you for bearing with us while we got our superstar back on the line. Fortunately, he was clever enough to move and find a good connection. We'll have a second session with Andrew at some point, and we visit those points, and there was some good interaction in the chat today asking for live demonstrations. Look out for the rerun, look out for the recording. Marc, Andrew, anything you want to share before we say goodbye?
What a privilege today. Thank you.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I wish we could have a longer conversation, but stay digitally curious. Seek out collaboration, and again, just ask one question: why? That would be my advice.
Thanks again for the privilege. I've really enjoyed today's talk, and hopefully we've inspired many to have more conversation.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye for now. See you next time.